to come in, and there's always a set of standards to apply. Hegseth, or Secretary Hegseth, he's not preventing anybody from writing a story. He's just saying if you want access to walk the halls freely inside the Pentagon, then these are the rules that you got to comply with.
It's important, though. The reason these news organizations, the reason we have a First Amendment is because people in America whose tax dollars are paying for the Pentagon, among other things, have a right to have an understanding of how that is playing out. And this is a very long established norm that for news organizations, and you're right, there's a credentialing process, right? But this is a huge change in the way things have always been done. I realize it's not a law, but it is a norm. How is that? I mean, if it were a Democratic president who was doing that, and obviously Republicans have plenty of criticisms of how Democrats were running the military. Would that sit well with you?
Well, I wouldn't say it's not the way it's always been done. There was many years that the Pentagon didn't allow reporters to walk in the halls. They had a press corps outside the building, much like what the White House has right now. The White House has a press corps where they meet the press. I could see where eventually the Pentagon could have the same thing set up. Nothing prevents the public from knowing what's going on unless it's classified. The dollars they spend, the programs that they are in, we authorize it. Congress authorizes it.
Policy is not simply about classified information.
Well, I know, but as a whole, he's saying if you want access in the halls, there's these credential process you have to have. Otherwise, stay outside the building, collect what you want to. Nothing prevents you from running news stories. Nothing prevents you from chasing stories. You're just not going to have access to walk the halls freely inside the Pentagon. Like I said, the White House does that. The Capitol does that. Reporters can't freely walk around unless they meet the certain qualifications that are there.
So look, full disclosure. I have worked in the White House. I understand the rules in the White House. I understand the rules of the Capitol. I have never been a working reporter covering the Pentagon. But my understanding here is that, first of all, not every hall in the Pentagon is free and accessible to reporters, but that this is a situation where the places where they've always been allowed, those briefing rooms, the places that are specifically for the press, you're not going to be able to even get that far.
Well, we've had an issue with leaking going out of the federal government as a whole, and that has to stop. This isn't new to any administration. Every administration has complained about it, but this is the first administration that's doing something about it. And as we recognize and find the holes, we're plugging it. And that's exactly what I think is happening here. And I support the Secretary for doing this because it is a tough move. He knew there was going to be some criticism, but it's important that we keep our national security safe. It's important that when plans are being drawn out, they don't accidentally leak and it's from a anonymous source, because that happens all the time. Some of this stuff is sensitive, not classified, but when it's sensitive, it's still dangerous.
How would the White House have found out that they were planning a briefing on China for Elon Musk, if not for the press?
I don't know
the White House wasn't thrilled about what the Pentagon was doing, and they heard about it because of reporters.
I'm not familiar with the story, so I'll just have to go with you on that one.
Okay. Yeah. Let's change subjects. We just were discussing this lengthy story in Politico where there were young Republicans in a Telegram chat saying racist, homophobic, sexist things, talking about Hitler, talking about gas chambers. What would you say to the people who participated in that chat?
Well, first of all, the Young Republican Association came out and denounced it immediately. They said there's no room for that. They're not associated with us, and those that would be involved in it are immediately fired. All Republicans, including myself, 100% denounce that. And there's a difference, and I'm not really, please don't think I'm trying to switch the story, because what you said is it's a serious situation that there's no room in the Republican Party for that at all. But the difference between the way the young Republicans handled it and their elected officials that all of us have come out and denounced versus the way that Jay Jones' situation, where he literally wanted his colleague to be shot twice and his kids to be murdered, no one's come out and denounced that. In fact, they said he's apologized and he should be able to run for Attorney General in Virginia. That's a huge problem. There's a difference in the way the two situations are handled. I mean, this is despicable and disgusting, and there's zero, and everybody's been perfectly clear, there's zero room for this kind of behavior in politics as a whole, regardless of Republican or Democrat. But we hold our own accountable inside the Republican Party. We won't allow that to happen.
The vice president said essentially that these were kids making jokes and they shouldn't be canceled for it. Do you think that that's right?
Well, I didn't hear what the president's remarks is.
The vice
president's remarks, but I would never let my kids joke like that. That's zero. There's a solid no. My grandfather fought in World War II. He went over on Omaha Beach. He saw the despicable things that the Nazis did to not just the Jewish people, but to other countries and other races along the way. He went into a concentration camp. He was a gentleman that you never ate Hershey's chocolate around because of the story that he tells about going inside a concentration camp.
Yeah.
And so it's not room to joke for me. It's a hard stop that you're not associated with me whatsoever if you think that's funny.
All right, Senator Mark McMullen, thanks very much for being here. Really
Thank you.
appreciate your time,
Appreciate
sir.
it.
All right, we will be right back.
Bread isn't just food. It's a bridge between cultures, generations, and strangers turned friends.
Tony Shalhoub, Breaking Bread, Sunday at 9 on CNN. Sponsored by Vivcard Hytrulo.
What could you